A big welcome. This is Lab 20 Innovations, Lab 20 Podcast. As we always bring more conversations, and like we say, we want to always have real conversations with real people. And this is the spirit that brings us today to come and chill outside here. We have a very good friend of the podcast and a very good friend of Lab 20 as a whole, and all the way from Mzuzu. So I said, now let's sit down, have a conversation. One thing that I'll tell you is, I think when we'll be finishing conversation here, you'll be challenged, or you have some questions that you have been asking yourself. You might have answers to those questions. You know my name is Dennis, and I've got the pleasure of having Mr. Spencer. All right, okay, yeah. So in case you're wondering, what is studio indeed? Oh, drinks coming in. Yeah, we are at Cafe 92, where there's Kuseri restaurant, and that's our set for this conversation today. What did you order first? What did you order? Anyway, everybody's drinking Chageja grape. It looks the same. We'll know what you're drinking by the amount of English you speak. Exactly. Alright, so for those of you watching us, like I said, this is Love 20 Podcast, and we've got a guest who is from Zuzu. I will give you the pleasure to introduce yourself. How
my
intro minimum. So how best do you introduce yourself?
Blessings Msowoya. Antabira magondo chiwa kata so Blessings Msowoya, kata. I'm a lecturer at Msowoya University. What else? I think that's all.
In what faculty?
It's just Blessings in so, and where is the Kata coming from? So it's my father's name. So it was Kata Msowoya. So for me, it's Blessings Kata Msowoya. So my middle name is just Kata. You see? It reminds me a lot of my dad and stuff. When I'm introducing myself, when I'm in class, first day, I just say, my name is Blessings. And I'm going to teach you It's
actually very easy to pronounce.
Exactly. So I'm a lecturer at Msowoya University. I'm the faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences.
Humanities and Social Sciences?
Yes, so under the Department of Governance, Peace and Security Studies. I'm a lecturer in Development Studies. It's been in Napanganeja University. So yeah, I'm in that department. Komaso, I'm a candidate. Ku Chancellor College to University of Malawi.
Candidate also did email as Spencer president yeah. They were again University of Malawi.
University of Malawi.
Also, that's students union. Because some candidate was students union in University of Malawi. Who lecture at Mzuzu University? Very well, candidate
so candidate. Wakawina ufunzisa sunga kale sokani ondera mu student union sunga come on serious question.
So you on top of lecturing, you are studying as well.
Yes.
That's for a candidate.
Candidate. If the people, my lecturers there, my professors are watching, oh, so I'm spending time out instead of mama to ziremba thesis wewe kudza kumakhala uli yakali mtauni, you know. Yeah, so I'm studying there. I'm doing a PhD in development studies. God willing, this month or next month I'll be submitting my thesis. I think the final draft, or anyway, a draft of my thesis. So I'm more likely to finish this month end, July.
Oh wow! All the best. Ulendo mene usulendo wazibwa. Ulendo inde ukafike kumene koko. No, by blessings, it's a pleasure that you paid us a visit to Kulongwe kuno. You said, let's sit down for a drink. Dijeze kuti mve kuti kodi kuzuzu PhD uku ndi moyo ukwenda mwantondo wanji. So feel free, feel welcome. For us, this is home, and we love these conversations. So yeah, let's
welcome to Lab 20.
Chaonga chomene.
All right, so let's talk about your work first, which is lecturing.
I'm so inspired.
Yeah. I know a lot of people will be wondering why we are very interested to have a conversation, which they'll find out later. Why this conversation is very important for us and for people watching. We'll talk about that later. But take us through journey yangu di unaweza bwanji wonzoni kudi your study lecturing. Where have you been to? Unapuzia maschool at India ati? Yeah, because
Mwina mamesho.
Information.
Awone. Kandana.
Spencer. Okay. Kodi ndiambire kuti. Ndiambire ku secondary primary.
We went from secondary.
So I did my secondary school, Nkadabe Boys Secondary School.
Kabus.
Chamuvisa Raba Plantation. Yeah, between 2002 2005. With some friends there. I should say, secondary ago. Okay, by the way, I'm visually impaired. One day, maybe it's even ways such that I can't read or see or describe what you do on the journey. Literally, I can't even use pen and paper. So I'm going to get a that's my dodo, you know what I mean? So 2002 2005, that's when I went to Nkada Boys Secondary School. So I met some friends there. Ledson Kalonga, a few friends, Asip Sainani, Azizanga Ngabo. So finished in 2005, that's when I did my MSc. Nitamaliza my MSc. This will be the interesting part now, where we're going. So wrote my entrance exams in 2006. But I'll tell you, every university, every college, and can this year. So yeah, so I'm visually impaired. I didn't have the information now because of the vision. So just go now interest. At some point I think I introduced to manage my computer cards for entrance exams. Yeah. I can't see this. How would you? What happened? You don't know. I'm visually impaired, and my sight is this part, and so on. How do you so many actually, umango fila form on Lucasia. I'm not supposed to write. I didn't have that information. So even in this university, I did my entrance exams for 2 new programs. And this year. So you can imagine, but now I'm a lecturer there. Yeah. And this year at the time. Then this 2006, 2007. Then the same 2006. So you can imagine investor Malawi, Mzuzu invested or separate. When I Bezanche at the time.
Yeah.
So investor Malawi, and then Mzuzu University, and then Domas College of Education, Malawi College of Health Sciences. Nothing about you not in that. This year as it was. I think the name was this year. Then my late aunt, Sister Gertrude, so rest in peace. And she advised me, no. You know, Catholic investor advertise. Can you apply? Go right to the entrance exams. You know, 2006. Yeah, 2006. So I was actually supposed to be part of that group. So first cohort. Nabila munyinyi kutozona ambuye mapoints anga basi ndikatere ku Catholic University.
How many points?
I will not talk about that because it pains me. Zibandipwetika kwambiri, you know. Daime neyo panopa na gasiti lipano mwina that is kumano. The issue was zona ndisiyo then ndikatere at relatively known but also private investor amwamba kumene, you know what I mean, yeah. So Nabila be munyinyi nakalemba my interest aja, and I received support kwambiri. The ones that were should I say administering the exams, and then I support where I couldn't see, they would come describe the issues and stuff like that. Then my interest in Janadu was supposed to start in August 2006. I was actually taking a Bachelor of Social Science degree, social work. So, and I saw good malizatse na sana duluge gwina, but then the issue was no. I think I'm not going there. Nikagana. Azanga hosa vida gwinima and like ena bunzuni jan. Why me? Katinai gwina. Actually, the first year I didn't go. Nazabida 2007. So I went to Catholic University in 2007. Abo sonde kudifuranga masosoli jara tani so launch zegera so kwambi such that of course makabu toboro and then reading and also it's kind of slow. So I went there, said I'm here. What happened to me? But then my aunt told me and my mom actually that year. But my mom said, you know, your brother, your sister, they're waiting. We're three, what? I'm the firstborn, and then I have a sister, my brother. Then went to Catholic University. Then something keep around. I'm winning. You don't know, you know? Just pursue this. That's number one, the language. And then I was so good. I'm still good, but it was never sabo than is wearing. And that was the issue when I when I joined my grades anga okwera kwambira majoga from all modules or courses. I mean, I in the content here mathematics. Actually, mine and the mathematics. So I've done pure mathematics, and then the statistics, applied statistics, and social science, you know. So I did my bachelor's there. Mtapanga graduate. Then I went straight to do my master's in Chancellor College. But before Sanabito Chancellor College, between my graduation year bachelor's, I should say, New Chancellor College. Then we did 90 minutes, I think, with disability. You know, if you we identify. So during your graduation, I think they sent a note, would you please, this, can you follow blessings and things like Mafuna movie the school vocation center for the blind. Braille. Yeah, so Nabidago Mwana vocation center for the blind. So 4 months, I think 3 months into the program, Chancellor College came calling. And then but where I was in Malawi Vocation Center for the Blind, aziphunzitse braille kuja they were worried. So braille sunamaliza kuphunzira how would you read and write, you know, and this is not just any other degree, this is a postgrad, it's a master's, you know, the demands and things like that. So, okay, I'll see. So I went to Chester College, finished my master's, but it's a story that when I tell people about how I've moved, I don't know a grade below 70, by the way. So, pena ndikamachura andifazoona ngati matama, but ndekani makara, I'm proud of that. I want to
really inspire a lot of people.
No, for me already, you are enrolling for your bachelor's, and the first thing that is happening is really you have visual issues. You cannot actually see clearly, you need help, but you go on to do the 4 years and you graduate.
And then
How did you navigate that? Because now, because at first I was thinking maybe when my materials are braille, I mean, my use or things like that. They were like,
that's what I was
yeah. Now you're saying that after graduation of bachelor's, you're going to now start learning braille.
So, okay, in secondary school, nikaiza matochi. At first, maybe just the issue is I have a rare genetic condition called retinitis pigmentosa. They say it's genetic. It's a rare condition. So on the retina, pampanga form pigment. You know, the retina. Okay, knowledge gender biology, and what the doctors have told me. That's why I think the image is formed and things like those. Some pampanga form pigment. So as you grow, pigment is jema. So secondary school, I had issues because you see, and by the time I figure from 4, they would put only just so ways and that's here we end and masana. You know, the way no kanimuntu. And then even when studying, I had to sit in fluorescent tube with this younger, but they're so in fun. And it will take time to do that. Myself from forward to the MSc, you're missing. I missed that one. So okay, so when I went to college, complete the good side younger was in second year, second semester. You can imagine you've just joined at that level to college, and you know the work is, you know, could be spoon feeding, you have to work on your own, do stuff, you know, on your own. So you just wake up one morning and then in class you're looking at your lecturer. So you come on a face again. So it's like, I tried this. What's happening with me? Then kumona jara ichinga japanga simbo ya swastika. Then what's happening? Looking at people. Literally, this part cinema owner is joining like the chin and the nose. So, maybe bigger going and stuff like that. So, you know, I would write, I would read even though very slow, you know. So, what do? I reached a point where I wanted to withdraw from. I don't have any option. I can't see, you know what I mean? But what do? You know, so I should say the environment which one is plays, I don't know, wouldn't you for the man? Does matter. I had friends, you know, they're just there. They supported me a lot. So what in class and so since I could write and then you know, as I'm writing, maybe I'm writing on my brain, you know, and at the time where my group discussion. So in class after immediately my lessons of that day, what would happen is you know, William Paza, Innocent Dula, they're still around. William, these were my friends, Paza, and then Joseph Mpango, Bright Nyirenda, and then Dibson Gaman. especially for Debson Kamani, William Palaz, and the Innocent Dura. So he said no. I think they immediately knew couldn't that one I think is the take. So because the Kapangagale thesis at school they made sure and Tinangwamba is immediately after every lesson Makalabasi to discuss the issues. And wearing the Konga Makalabudi, they would immediately, if I miss a class, I'll fail. So Msowoya mulungu maglasi siri mamwesa so at least azanga osamantandiza wambili and then would meet in the exam. So in the exam, like, so you know the background is you used to use pen and paper. Yeah, I can write even though I can't read what I'm writing. My so much nimamba gulemba. Of course I can pass a question paper. So I faced this one then. This one was half the condition. So I would hold that question paper to my left eye and then read. It would take me about maybe 10 minutes just reading one question. You can imagine that. I was very fast. So there are certain things now naturally not develop. Number one observe the memory yanga, number no color very strong. You know, writing number no gulemba machangu kwambiri. Even though my lines are just in my own, I'm going to get a paper like that. Okay, it's this. You know, and there were very few options at the time.
It's no longer a mean. You're losing or you lost part of your senses. My senses in a
you know, in fact, you know, the strongest senses wine. Here, touch, smell, taste, they're very strong. So, another support like that. People tried to get a print, large print, but still that couldn't work. It wasn't working. Then Hamadaba would mine and mathematics. In fact, there's one lecture called on Magamba. Now is at MAST. Co.
Yeah.
You know Co?
I don't know. You ready? Quantic Magamba.
Quantic.
Yeah.
Equation, yeah, power 5. He taught me, you know, I'm a different mathematics. And my son, my cousin, one be man digulira and you know, on one note. And at the point, another way, I'm going to you were thinking majors into Solagwika. It should major mathematics, you know, because of my performance there. And I'm talking about how are you able to do mathematics? But I said in the Maliza, you know, because of the support I was receiving from friends. So, Pazinzaka follow natural. One, we're in the same class, Tosen Magaloa Mata mods, you know. So, Pazinzaka class muja, because already, at least some, when the lecturer kama punzisa muja, I named Makalandi that kind of visual concept of what he's saying, exactly the equation, the way how it's written. Even though I can see it, or even on the bodies when I went as the Sinduran, Sindu. So, up Pagana Naga figure 4th year. So, towards 4th year, then the issue was, you know, Dr. Lillian Stephens wearing Wagon Netherlands. I think that was conflict resolution and management. And then class market, I had my magnifiers. At the time, I was just trying to jump at everything that would help me at least do my studies. So I was given my magnifying glass and the things like that, just to help me, you know, go through my. But still more, they were not working because the issue was, even though no matter how large you make that print, I still can't see.
So the condition is not one that is treatable by my glasses.
No.
Okay, short side, long side.
No. Because Kaligare, they thought it was night blindness. But it wasn't. Up until Azabanga discovered retinitis pigmentosa. So even today, when you go, because I do a lot of research on the issue, Ndeka, to learn more about my condition and things, apart from what I get from what doctors tell me. There's no treatment for this one. Just recently, trial of some drugs, for example, Volatile, like that. But the treatment for both eyes gets closer to $850,000. Of course, you would understand because maybe research issues, the cost that goes into it. But it's not even proven. I think they're still doing the clinical trials, and maybe the hope will be in Neuralink now that Elon Musk is talking about issues to say no, somebody even who was born blind will be able to see for the first time, but we don't know if it's related to my condition. But generally, there's
at least a little more hope.
So the fourth year was I was explaining towards fourth year. So this Dr. Stephens observed me and then to be always when I did zanga when I do zanga when I did class and things like that. So she called me to her office. I in my class, I just what's wrong? So I explained to her, I'm vision impaired, this is the condition. So how do you go about your studies? Then come for the Rosera. No, such that semester. And as I don't know, if Blessings doesn't get an oral exam or the alternative of a written exam, she did that. And it was semester Mariza to university, After all this trouble, there were cases where you go to a lecture at some point, as well as the codes.
What do you think is the biggest problem that is there? Because you cannot be in conditioning for that long, and somebody comes and they observe and they are trying to find a solution. Is it issue negligence? What do you think is the main thing?
It's one of those difficult questions. Okay, I'm the way how, but I think it goes to my values. So, for example, generally, my students you are there to support them. My students and a disability that someone is this one. You need to pay particular attention to such, even though my resources are other valid, but still more. You can use that to support. So, like Stephens, what he did, of course, I received a lot of support from my lecturers and so, for example, because at the time, that's when development. I think I can't wait for people to do stuff for me. I think I should start. Let me begin to learn things. They would, and I was like, okay, can I give you something in? Should I be scanning the lecture notes, handouts, and the like? I said, but I don't have the tools. Then she told me, no, just find out, give with a friend, go on the internet, find out how you can read e-copies. So it started like that, and then she said, okay, we have because where Montfort campus is, school for the deaf, school for the blind. Then he referred me to Mr. Magombo. So Mr. Magombo said, I say, stage guy. I think for now, let me introduce you to JAWS, which is Job Access with Speech, which is a screen reader. Let's see if we can get lecturers as over some notes electronic. In the same time, you can imagine. And then we're supposed to be writing my research and stuff. So then when JAWS because JAWS then no do the software, I was using a trial version, now you got laptop and then trying to read, and nobody taught me how to use JAWS. At a bit of school, because this somebody who's blind, how when pressing keys does this and then he's telling you. So that semester was the only semester that I wrote an oral exam, even in mathematics. And I was also Mr. Teacher, and I it's the question paper. If you can write, even though you can't read, And I tell you, that semester even I got 17 maripeza teacher kuposa so above that kumafika kumaite chakuti all courses like that. So it's annual research. Then I started training myself in the job. Yeah, so one thing that happened was immediately what happened with the staff, my lecturers ananditandiza kuti particularly nikenti monoroke ndiri chonchi koma ndisazimverere. I think let me just find solutions to my problem. I already know. I remember Dr. Schweding when he was giving us the report, telling my mom, my family, he just asked me, I've seen you're putting on a rosary. Are you Catholic? I said yes. Do you believe in miracles? I said yes, I do. I'll be honest with you, I can send you anywhere else in the world, wherever. The solution. You eventually go blind, totally blind. But what we can do now is just to support you, give you the necessary skills, and so on and so forth. And I would encourage you to start at a center where I can be put things like braille, using a cane. That report imene ndikulandira tsopano kumapeto konena kuti ndamaliza ndapanga graduate 2012. That's when this report was coming. Anangonduza kumayambiriro ku Lions and Norway kuti they just wrote kuti I've retinitis pigmentosa and things like those, like that. But still more ngasibe mwapita kuchipata ndipo ndaenda seeking help, you know what I mean, anthu manena zambiri mbiri ya mwana yanamulodza people pushing you kuti still more should find alternatives. Ndipo church ndavita. So I'm Catholic. Yeah. People saganika, but of course my parents, especially my mom, because I've been raised by so this line the master in it. I say master in the corona so the issue was she never believed in those things. But in school, for example, I've gone to churches. I'm a prophet. But then something was building automatically, trying to build the energy in me that blessings, I think it is a courage to come. You can do this, So nduvanga struggle kena kudamaliza school my bachelor's Josu Jano ndi ngokhala kae mamphunzira and then start. I think I can read and write with this as long as I have the format electronic. As long as it's electronic, that's okay. So that's how Barcelona Bezo number with Grace and Nonchilo Joe. So when I went to Manager Vocational Center for the Blind, Anzanga also Ana Bidira would have been it's a vocation center, Punzi business management, Kulima, Munda Gujamabit and the Magali Mandi to Lusa now. Gwira Castle Panganzere, those skills, I'm a different but Kuministry and Mungu Punzisa Braille to Wafunaguno. I was the only one that had a degree. They 3 months into the program around the Punzisa Braille because they wanted me to
so you can go
to ministry. So Braille umamba kuphunzira letter by letter. You know,
There's a new alphabet.
in alphabet ija widziwa koma you need to be taught nangasama iza ti madoteti, so you need to learn that. Ndina pezoti ndambano kuwerenga paguza ndisaguza, there's that famous book, you know, that story na iwerenga mu braille na isana iwerenge pomoja koma imakhala kuti, so in braille when you write letter by letter, even a single page, it will color even 5 pages, yeah, braille, you know. So I'm use to address that issue. I'm use what they call my contractions. So where you have about when my letters are combined into one letter. For example, blessings, BLE, is a single chisimbo jina yake. So that's what braille wearing letter by letter. Now I need to start my contractions combining words. You know, ing so the letter by double s choncho. Ndifuna ndiziyamba zimene, which is very njofunikira kwambiri for you to use that braille. Masters and nditenga chance college. This friend of mine Magambo William called, bro, have you checked the news? And sinaone news ya weekend. No, I say we've been picked. Ndemuone zimene zimajidika mulunga karatumiza ngere, right? This is a friend that you can have. Nditenga so masters, the same masters here ndine. The same year. Toseso kalosa class most. Then do wasanzika kuti I went to meet the principal, say I think in the middle school they were worried. No, you shouldn't go on and the minister you know, to go over submit my reports and the like. We don't know what's there. Moreover, you don't know braille. I said, you know what I mean? So I went to Chancellor College, reported for my studies because Center for the Blind. I say, whatever they're going to tell me, if they're not going to accept me, then I'll come back. But if I have something good in it I can use to do my studies, then I will share. So I remember of course we did not plan for it. Your application did not indicate sooner indicate you have a disability, you know.
That's also something that I wanted to talk about. Acceptance, so
you know you've got the verdict from Gujibata.
So for me, I see eventually go blind. So many, it's hard for somebody to tell you over time, you know, the world read the Monica Jonchi, and this is how the world never over, you no longer have that, and then to be told there's no solution, and then you eventually go blind, and you're actually seeing it happening in real, you know, life. Zitu zijakumapita zinkapweleka kwambiri and ninkadandaula kwambiri. Umano, you know, you meet people in life that encourage you, but again you look at yourself, and the challenges are being the firstborn, and then you know as baleago because the follow the leader. So in addition, okay, this is it. I think let me face that war and let me see. I'll keep on hitting, but one day it will fall. Rizandijega komandiza dotani napita even ndikuchoko kwanazo ndio zikapanga bwanji munthu ona kuti bwanji ndikaone. So when I went there meeting the senior assistant registrar, then Mr. Gambwe said we didn't plan for you koma tikutumize ku resource center, you know. They have Kuchasa College, they have special needs resource center. So I went to meet Mr. Tungande, and so far I was using nothing. I started learning makeup using JAWS. So I know color computer here. So naga color computer. Okay, can you use that computer? I'm able to blood document. Can you read? Panga press is set and allow down document. I'll write a recommendation that this is what you'll be using. Since we're braille sooner than sooner. So because of that again, this user JAWS. It means exams. Chiri JAWS now is it's a computer. So computer became my eyes in terms of anything to do with work or academic work in the computer. And my son, I remember using that computer, reading, studying, and the like. And the environment and support one day, because even the professors and the like, you would go, for example, that this is what I want. I mean, this, for example, some lectures wouldn't have. My slides would just come. So because I cannot write at the same speed, my mistakes in there now. So I would ask, can I record? So I go ahead, record. Then I record. I cannot see it.
Experience in a minute. What do you think?
I think as I'm going to my glass,
how did it mainly affect your progress at school? Looking at it from an angle,
Okay, all right, I'll go ahead. You know, it's always difficult. The issue mainly, I hope I understand you correctly, is in, like I said, for people that know me, I would do also. When the problems were getting even, serious. That's when even my performance in I'm telling you that, for example, from first year, ugafika fourth year, we never under special treatment for fourth year. Semester ya mali. Koma kose ku tell you kuti poto yanga grade yanga sima good individual sima pete even below 70. Neku mapita ku semester maliza. Average in Jano never, it's never been below 70, yeah? When things were getting tough, even my grades were getting so you know. When I went for my masters, my challenges is also, but I'll tell you, even in research younger, right? Sinabo they do even a single day, yeah, masters. Even nigga was able, but more than probably they're struggling, and what I want but with the same not that I was being treated one special. Don't you think that there was some go ask around. I can challenge you. You can go Chelsea College and ask a few Amina and Principal that they're there. Or Amina Gudziwa. Right? I remember late Professor Gishin does another, you know, blessings. You are in my class. I understand your challenges, but let's work with what we have. With what we have. I was given the same exam. The same exams. All assessments are the same. And in time management, you submit. You can submit an electronic copy. The lecturer will mark, give you comments and things like that. No any special treatment. You're a student in class. That's how they were treating me, right? Kosebu. That's how it was. And you know, people were saying, I was attacked at some point in little masters by fellow students, my undergrad. I think there was a standoff in the management. Take a chance to college. But my postgraduate programs are Germany. The stores even on Zodiac and the like, a student attacked the chance to college by fellow students.
I think I've read that. Yeah, I think it's like I think I've read that.
Yeah. I was attacked Mazuru Lubira Ukawerenga. Then the Department of Economics scenario, the other side of the road. So that was, we were using the seminar room that side for in the evening just to access the internet, but also when you want to access your material stuff like that. Lubira mene was attacked, inabiro chipatala, I went in class and zindu zimaenda bwino and nobody was like, what do you for your thing, what would then in Mpange Jones? No, you can go on, you know. And that has been nice. And then the special treatment.
I think China once in our communities we identify has this problem or has this condition.
Yeah, I think it's an issue the way we have grown up. Ngati muntu uyu ali ndi vuto ili. This is how we've been told muntu uyu zimpanga treat chonchi. So we follow that. We don't look at okay, what are his capabilities? Yeah, you paeka. Akuthakuwani sopanga bwanji zinthu. If you just feel like
you know somebody exactly. So somebody was asking me, you know, are you a member of Malawi Union for the Blind? And then I said, Malawi Union for the Blind? No, I've never been a member. Why are you not a member? Then I'm going to say that. No, please, this is even funny. I was it. I'm not saying Malawi Union for the Blind it's a useless institution, government organization. I'm not a member because I think Mwanga we end up on a win. And
you don't need to belong.
I don't need to belong. Okay, so why should I be a member of Malawi Union for the Blind? One, the labels people begin, or it's meant to go in above us. Okay, so for example, okay, Mutura Jogudine and visually impaired and blind. Is my get on top. We did
the same. You know? When we met.
We can't, your body language doesn't even tell. You don't know what no, up until you mentioned, could you like this? Umakala, and so I go out with friends, drink there. I'm like, yeah, I'm like this, but why should I? The issue is you give yourself limits. Sometimes when you sit, okay, it's very difficult to it's very difficult for you to generate solutions. And for me, being in an environment where I have people that do not, for example, I did a voodoo Yandiva Soda should learn more about how I can live independently. I'm always competing with them. How are they able to do this? People are surprised. Blessings. I don't use pen and paper, right? I don't use any special gadgets. I use the same phone but I'll call you, I'll text you, I'll read emails, I'll do what? I'll teach, How are you able to do this? And nobody taught me how to use these things. I'm probably not in school, So that in itself created I think how to use this. Center for Social Research. Gadget. I want to buy a gadget. So I'm saying, gadget must take such into what it's able to do. Then a pro person. I think when you get this gadget, it's productive issues. I think you would get. How do you know this? Then as a food, I think I should become more interested in knowing latest technology that is coming out to support and help me. Like you're asking, how do you teach? I said I teach mathematics, I teach economics. I teach economics, I'll draw graphs for you, I'll write equations, even those in the one. My students are and things like that.
I want to understand your teaching. That actually intrigues me. Okay, you are teaching and what you are my owner, they write, you teach to them. When I submit my assignments.
And if you ask
take me through, how does that go?
Sorry,
yeah, please. You are allowed.
opposites. How person what opposites? And what in the opposites have all Kabila Satabune, eh? You know? So remember I told you I use screen readers. So I'll use job access with speech, but also voiceover. So I've my Apple products like the iPhone, I have an iPad, and a MacBook. My primary tool in the kind of Msowoya Musem has been a Windows laptop because of the job access with speech. So you know, when I see job access with speech, it's text to speech, yeah?
Yes.
It's loud. In the class laptop on, then the bank click. Pa iwerende bullet anaja vesere na bullet ija tena kuniambia so photo kozera kuri nina jawo it's destructive. So normally what I use is nde kaniganizo nende zibanga banje kwayambirira nimango werenga, of course, which I still do. I can use the laptop or nimatoka ngolo class in mamakaza I'll teach ndikumaliza kuwako pesa so notes anaje kulemba, you know, bwino ndapunzisa o akawerengeso buku akawerenga akanga ndi zomwezi I've done that. Laptop we just have my reference notes in bullet format and things like this, but the format you teacher, and then nimakandi episu a Bluetooth headset so that my students shouldn't asosogonegere. So all the way I read Speedia voiceover, kavere Speedia Jaws imaka very fast, eh? Come in Nazolo, and I see this. That's my primary tool that I use. Eh? Yeah. So with the same, actually, students can't even notice. I'll teach, I'll dictate notes, I want, you know. So every bullet, so I get the output audio to my ear, and then I teach. Or sometimes I don't even use these tools. But I tell you, when you go through the notes, and my lecture notes are jajan. So okay.
That's very interesting.
And somebody was like, I said, I want more pizza band. You know, so since 2022, I joined Mzuzu University in 2021. Yeah. Then 2022, the department in Anvangasani should teach defense and security economics. So economics is Zamasam, you know.
Yeah.
But the department believed in me, wouldn't it? I'll deliver that, I'll teach. Back then, the development studies program is yamba kumene. I think yamba kumene. So, I'm a place of defense and security economics here. I taught introduction to microeconomics, development economics, Zamasam as well. I'm a place. And I was like, how do you teach? They're like, okay. So, you know, like I say, I'm saying. There's also, I'm so much curious. I just want to know. Okay, fine. This is, if the software can read these things, can it fail to read equations? Of course, with equations, I'll have problems, more especially when they're images. But as technology is improving, all these enthusiasts have seen graphs and things like those. I'll write my equations, deriving with students in class. I'll do that. Remember background yanga mathematics, background economics, so I still have the same visual, you know. But when I write, even students are more good, you know, and things like that. I teach. You know?
Let's get out of the classroom now. This is the classroom setup. Okay, when we met Zuzu, when we came for your masters, the graduation. I was like really surprised when actually you were introduced as somebody who cannot see, because I was like, no, the way he has been around interacting with everybody, what are you talking about? And we also got introduced to your wife. One of the things that is you can interact with students. Whatever you're saying, okay, you're learning, okay, there are these gadgets and whatnot. But now,
they are obliged to listen to that.
When it comes to relationships, you meet when they know, I think it's actually they will start playing along with our kid in Tandies. But then, in a setup of a family, there are all these communications. Tim and Pela and Hodi, we are able to see each other. But you're always like suspicious of childhood because we're able to see. How is it like in your family setup? What type of a person are you with and how has she been of support to you? And
so you see, Dennis and Spencer, one of the issues Nina and through Ena so account fusa is amwe ngomankaza manje sana kufusilile irabamba jojo atambile
Never on matter of I was like,
yeah, nditu iyase nakadalitsa nditu Olympic Cathedral ndi bambo Jigweya ndi my boss then Reverend Father Dr. George Blair ndamene adalitsa watu wake 2018. I say when I look at the story with my partner, with my wife, kumene tajogera, I say pena ke ndikakhala okay, just to sum my life, pena ndi maneno, I think my life is a miracle. I'm a miracle. We are a miracle. So I made lonely. Ndidi Jones. I met her after I finished my masters. Ndigudo already, ndiguza na Joziwa, I'm using a cane, ndodo. That's when I made lonely. I met at that time.
Where did you meet?
In Blantyre, of course.
Okay.
So the story is, I think God will just send angels in your life. Knowing that my family was very supportive and pagana panova, just kudi all that kose kujamene ndadutsa kuja kuzafika leroli pagana at the time I was meeting loan till today I'm accounted banga support and the environment ija ndio funikira kwambiri kwa muntu inali yese. They've been very supportive and at the time ni makandi brother wanga my cousin Moses because brother wanga and we Nanaru College of Medicine. We were three rather. So Nanaru College of Medicine. Sister Wanga and Dora Ligunzun, a student. Then Moses is my cousin. Nangora Timakali mods. So we started Kumakala Boys Quarter moja. And since you got Kale Bendeka, I still need somebody. Yeah. So because gift Nanaru College of Medicine, Komaso, Nanda Mwamba Chiromeno Catholic University as lecturer there, 2016. So Nigakam Boys got Friday, Saturday, Kerizvirase. And then Mavira College of Medicine, Kugajeza go brother wanga. Mavira Rose, in Endo generation. Then in Moses here, on our way back, some things happened. I'm vision impaired, but I can see a very beautiful woman. And then the question was, he asked me, Moses was like, bro, how did you see that? How did I say? You won't because of the description you're giving in the menality. Okay. What's up, brother? Okay, you come. You know what I mean? So my brother-in-law, I mean, Anabondana, so come on, okay. What happened? What happened? What about her? Then his next couple of also mean a magangabo, this other day, not knowing, ndiri kunchito one of the weekends. So Catholic University then in Makandi, they have my weekend programs. Right? So ndapunsa, then malazalo one of this corridor kuti ku administration when nikapita ku finance there was a friend. Ndangolowa kodi doijenda kwera chonchi. And people who Catholic University na fika point out in mind and their character. They was so used to environment. I would actually say tell kuti ndikaenda ma steps 5. Ababa ndafika pa cave, ndikwenoti I should turn right or left. I'm not going to step small good at that. Like I was saying, my memory automatically when one says goes, I'm no kubwera no. One be. So I mastered the environment. One be such that never point to some and they're also using that K in that environment. My brother just told me go first. Mamzot, you can go. You know? Then the corridor. So the corridor nearly Italy, George. Yeah, I'm coming to find in the world. They also call it. I would only hear the first. Komano, the way in the joint. Is that there? To be. No. Number second. What are you doing here? You know? What are you doing here? I'm actually in the Bozari Vida Fizi and my sister. Who is your sister? It says Christina. No, you know, she's on. Your sister, the Christina, would they? Christina, the other sister, was my student in my class. You know? Ndo mazua nice sister of Empa number and having it. So so there was a friend who financed you, Patrick Massa. Now I just went to meet him. So sister again, I didn't see and kapanga upgrade. So after class, can I meet you, Christina? Then Christina Jabuda, you know, you have a sister. Her name is Lorna. Yes. Omane Gucci, Nazara Sadusovenda Mana. No, sister go Jala Wamba go say. Then I was sending the number. I ran the bitchy guy. So she went to ask for the number. My sister Jaladi was Mama Gani. Kaka over Solida position. Nikamana select I'm body community so mama side. Come I don't have some number I just tried so apparently I think since it was a weekend another joke would alone I think I got grand shit back then on with MCA. They're the ones who were I think resettlement action plan zima pause million change account. So I think on a weekend I'm gonna go to the physio then anali wow kwa my eyes. Then they meet with the sister there. So is this one or late? That was a number I go mampatira njanja. Nina ngombo cheza naye. Chezani basi tu chezani. Chezani. Mpaka naye. So that's how I met her and then that was towards I think 2016 to 2017. 2017 Nabangajin Hoswe, you know. I'm saying I met this woman, Didi Gary Jones, you know, and I remember Chibezi Atuamba Women and Hagumuza Zodia, who's Gavanga Naja and Mamuno Saon and Gararems. You know, people say, you know, okay, when I look at my wife, I know she would have married any other person. And Ogongola, Wambia, is also cousin in Manila. I know, I saw her the day when I was speaking. Because that day was Zuzu. No, none but I think Minnesota for the Zodiga. And Mongo to visa. Yeah, so
Anyamada Fnaga.
So coming to the issue then I would, because the question was, you know, family issues, makama issues, ambiri, issues, etc. You know, I think the most important thing was, one is to find the right partner, number one, which is the most important thing, I think. And you know, my situation, alhamdulillah, the guy should be surrounded by abuse that maybe somehow. So I think the way how things were said from the beginning, but also the environment where your relationship you run, accountability, you know, and the time there are 3 times the salary, you know, and the things like, and that's why alhamdulillah
projects you said
so yeah, Alison dega wipi, Feriuti dega wipi to go in the so
For the page, we call it for the page.
you know, so nkani zinazona kuti nandeso nani mawale zimwambili kuti azizandibicha nyumba muno, you know, like to my insecurities it didn't chanchana. But over time what I observed was the relationship, we modeled it in such a way that thou shalt not hide, thou shalt tell everything, thou shalt do these things with me. Now I don't know, and when I'm makusiri kaza kwa makare pena so moro ndifoje foto langa ali mwina kwa mbili ndi makadi limonzi, you know, kandi nkhani za makozi, kandi nkhani za mafoni ngugambaza and the like, but again so sanga ndivusise if I take it then the so far no issues, no trust issues, even when, so actually when I sit down nimavera mabanje kukanga kubisira na dola apanga janchan. But the issue is, for example, you sit down, this is my side, this very accountable, this is how we plan, you know, banjali just sibudi sijibwezi, you know. Yeah, you have to give it all. Yeah, you have to. So the issue was in Zanga day one, from the very first day, and that's what in Zanga ndodere. And the issue is, she accepted responsibility that she didn't sign up for, but says, oh, I think you will get support. And if there's a person who supported me, it's my wife. So I'm saying, remember, my family has been supportive, but find that woman, she does everything.
Actually makes it even much better.
And in fact, kazima kalabanji chito imena maveza, ntazambiri makadi flexible. Because she's the one who takes me to work. It means she has to pick me from work.
Yeah.
So everything kujimba kujandipangire atani shabu no makando wanchito. But you know, somebody who's always there and like, of course ibanja ndibanja sibudi simama kaniko kama you know, mugangani bovena and things like those. I have my own ways, you know, when feel like you think my insecurity is I have my own ways of observing and understanding what we know. So far we've had no issues. This no. And why that is because of Wamamata grew that chemistry, you know, but my conditions in Agamena Menorach. So how do you handle your stuff? You know, Mugambobisa zintu, kumatani, hiding things and things like those. But when you're open, you do things in the open, you everything. And one of the issues when you look at my marriage and the communication, you begin to erode the trust. And Aluses Banda Jasana Nami Punzirani Kusamba Limozi, Gujera Limozi, Musampase Maindani, Sata, you know, and things like those. Komano, honestly, it's like I found an angel, guys, being honest. Just to be with me, somebody who's visually impaired. This anami, in a video, there's a lot that I need without Hazindi Pangire. So you can imagine who would accept to be doing these things. Knowing who would demand this, to go on and accept I'll go and marry this guy in Kumakara Denai, you know. things like those. So
that's a big blessing. It's a big blessing. Actually, babwera kaja kumwagena but sayiwaleso kuti anakulola nimbe ngakhale kaja kumwaso mmachita ako.
Koma sichita kwambiri.
So let me just top up kuti mina
umbutsaso amene akutionera kuna konse Lab 20 podcast is uchi leo tujeze ndi bana blessings from Caffeine the two and one of our major sponsors today is Lab 20 Tours and Safari. In case you have or you happen to plan any trip within this year or next year, you can contact us 088 5591 400. It is the number. And you can always reach out to us. And Lab 20 Innovation has been very supportive. Actually, in Gamene,
Lab 20 Innovations, picture everything that's here. This is the Lab 20 Innovations. Lab 20 Innovations. So, nobody would kunja kuzojitika ndendi zambiri mbiri makampeni chani kuzojitika. And if you're looking for branding, my t-shirts, my banners, everything that you need, speak to us. Lab 20 Innovations. Remember my messages in my pages at Facebook, Lab 20 Innovations. You can visit our website to check LED TV screens. Hey, Ninani, Chibeli Bendi Jan, stage.
Come on, so Musayari Kubanga follow page yatu kabena account yatu ya podcast.
Exactly, Lab 20 podcast.
And subscribe.
TikTok as well.
Oh, but you do TikTok.
Yes, over TikTok.
So, tiende remote ndomene. Kuri Zambiri basa ntulya remote.
Sure. So live nditu recording from Cafe 92. What about the Cafe 92? Kamina Cafe 92.
Anzatwa kwa high school numuduza.
Hey, what about the Cafe 92? Kamina Cafe 92. Cafe?
I produce already cafe.
I didn't Cafe 92. Anyway, it's Cafe 92 in the heart of Lilongwe, and blessings. We are still having this conversation. Of course, you can hang out with me. People be filling up this place so they can have their Saturday shenanigans and stuff. But yeah, let's still conclude this last part of our conversations. I know you're busy when you're here, but we'll ask the madam to allow us the opportunity to be with you.
Exactly.
Sure.
Okay.
All right. So exactly. You are now studying for a PhD in community development.
No, in development studies.
Development studies. Development studies. Why choose development studies?
So you see, Tamari is a bachelor's in masters in development studies. Kuma interest yanga kwambiri ina pangalini kwambiri development economics topics related to development economics and things like that. So I think the background I had at the time, interest in policy analysis, economic issues, economic management issues, and things like those. And then when I went to do my masters, research actually my remit says the asset accumulation. So dramas many migrants, some Tunisia, and things like those. And in fact, research yanga munalides ntano za qualitative research, you know. Munalides ntano so they are just the hyper. No, it's good research. I think I can do it. That's not area yanga kwambiri. Maybe also because of the background in mathematics and things like those. My interest in in development economics issues and things like those. Even study, I remember associate professor Gokanjiro said, ulemba topic yetu ya pure economics chifanyani. I said, I think my interest yanga inangobwera kwambiri in these issues. Then when I started teaching, because ever since I graduated, many months is to teach. Actually, I was 2016 appointed lecturer in development studies. At first I was appointed a lecturer in social work. Then 7 months later I was appointed as a head of department. Who were the ones, I was actually part of the team that established the department at Catholic University of Development Studies. So since 2016 in Pakistan and Hebeni Majoga I was still HOD. So kind of development is, basis and things like those, and sometimes maybe some of the issues influencing on your background. I think let me just understand this topic even further. Issues to do with poverty analysis, inequality, and development, things like those. When I started that job, already I'm a lecturer in development studies and seems specialization younger. I already have the masters in that. Then you can't teach to invest using Gokani masters. And I said, I think let me go advance further. So started a PhD in development studies. Topic is interest so one bit using for masters. So mainly it's been driven partly because of my work, but also interest so I think there are issues maybe we can address differently. Maybe my contribution can be through the classroom. I may not be at Capitol Hill, but through the classroom by changing at least, or not necessarily changing the attitude or minds, but at least opening up something for those that will have to go through my hands. I know that some of them will end up at Capitol Hill. Maybe they'll have that impact and change certain things there. So mainly those two issues, but also the interest for you to change, because one way or the other you've been affected by one of the issues inside there. Like that.
Speaking about changing things or trying to do things differently, every time I meet somebody and they introduce themselves or they get introduced to me, or the moment I realize they've got an ability in a different way, of which you would say they are disabled or they are differently abled. Because of my society, because of my upbringing, the first reaction is I need to find in myself how I can be of help to them. That's natural. The first thing is I need to adjust, and adjustment is how can I help them? And for me, it's because society has made us believe all the time.
Exactly.
So you are a special case because you don't look like somebody who goes around looking for Jitandi.
So you see, I think you've raised a very important point. Remember, many times in a conversation, the environment in which one is, manipulating that environment will create any individual you want. You know what I mean? I was saying I had a very supportive family. And in fact, my story is not even possible elsewhere. When I tell people my story, I'm a double, would you know, it's either because they don't understand. But it starts from the house you're coming from, your family, right? And then that family is located within a community, right? And we know their attitudes, their norms, you know. There are so many models of disability, so many theories related to disability, hedonistic approaches and things. When you look at the social model of disability, it was like manipulate the environment and see what happens, you know. The idea is, if attitudes begin to change, because it's more or less like now, when you look at somebody with disability, the person is disabled, you know, needs help all the time. But you know, sometimes it's not always that it has to begin again with you. Wake up, saying, I need this and it will happen. Okay, it doesn't matter. I'll make this happen, you know, begin to push. And others will see, oh, I think there are efforts there being done. Then, you know, even to support you. We know the extreme cases, but also, again, in the extreme cases, you know, everyone has the potential to do something and change conditions. Really,
don't you think sometimes, don't you think maybe you are too special? don't you think maybe you're too special? Like, okay, you are an outlier in the community. Okay, I've got this, but in we're there, and now we can try to come level out in the ocean. Don't you have those?
You know, people always say, I know you it's because things like this. Okay, thank you God for everything. I really thank God for everything. But when I look at myself, and this is what I always say, I tell my students, you know, we have the potential to change the condition of so many people, but it begins with creating positive attitudes, both by the individuals that surround that one individual who may have that disability, and the individual himself. Sometimes the energy the individual have will come from the environment that surround him, but also you can begin to create the energy from within by what you do as an individual. You know, because of things like those. Now there are so many opportunities. Okay, one issue that when you look at our society that that disabilities seasonally more they are second class. When you look at the design of all buildings in Malawi, it's like it's recently when I am Timaram, Puchonchi and things designing Yama buildings kunali business and amapita ma special schools auka Chiranga school for the blind, for example, and things like those. Yes, pena tiwapa saso awapinzira ma skills ena ndena tiwajo sabuti, but that again created space where now communities, families, individuals said, oh, his place is very special. You know?
That's why we have got special.
So how do you?
When you're carrying special, not with the.
So how would you be able to support someone that more like institutionalized? What time will the community begin to learn about this condition to support that individual better? You know. So there are certain norms, certain values, of course, but the power is you know. Of course, people are very lucky, you're like that, but I'm telling you, I'm an example of that part where by simply manipulating the environment, certain things can change, you know. Things will change. So, for example, when I come and do somebody, are you able to transact per phone? I said, I transact more 6 to 6 alone. You know, I'll send you money, I'll read emails, I'll do what? Using these. You know, and because of the same winner, say, a Peking's braille machine is very expensive. Access to resources is challenging, you know. But I think the issue is what resources do we have available? We may not have everything, but the little we have, I think there's something, we can change something, we can do something with our gas into, you know. Resources would never be that.
If you are asked to give a message to someone who is watching, what do you mean the conditioning that you have a deal now and in the condition or is just normally from you, what would be your message that you already were in as I know the blessings are not and I took it and I'm using it over. ndasintha amene ndimaonera anthu amene ali ndi disability kapena kuti ndili ndi disability ineyo nasintha chifukwa kuti ndinamva anena zakuti what would be your message?
So I just have a lot to tell that individual. You know, nimakonda wauza I think ndi uphunzitsi wathu is it praise private son so much face the challenge God to guide then I remember ndikucheza ndi associate professor Gokani Vilwa is at Chasa College I think is for economics at the time ankapita kuti ndikupanga masters I think ndukayamba he was going for his PhD then ndikadandaula akandifunsa mwakuti nkumane ma challenges akuti literature is hard to find moyo sukuenda mwakuti ananduza kuti without the challenge and if you don't start in life you will never finish. Without the challenge and if you don't start in life you will never finish. Face that challenge. Face that challenge. Okay? Head on, face it. Okay? Take it up. Face it. Okay? And you told me bully and I'm going for a PhD. But when you finish this masters, I want you to come back and do a PhD here. Nabena somebody very well to get that PhD. You know? Oh, I should face the challenge head on. This isn't. It's possible to face that challenge and indeed overcome that barrier. So one is to believe in yourself. Failure, they say, is only limited by your imagination and it's only created by you. It's only created by you. So limits start in the head. But if you know that I want to do this, then you begin to ask yourself questions. How then do I do this? How then do I do that? How then do I do A, B, C, D, and things like that? So one thing I will say is first begin to believe in yourself that you have the capacity to do and achieve anything you can achieve in life, you know? So Zosiana, I wasn't born blind, right? And that's one of the most difficult things. One is to begin now to create that strength within yourself that, you know, things work and they work out here. Zimatega. But you know, begin to believe in yourself that you can achieve anything. Don't create limits in your head to say, is this thing? Okay? How are others managing? The Panala director of special needs. I'm a user iPhone and I live Capitol Hill. He's blind. How is he able to do this? You know? I think in the within Naneso, and I also say, but we have a text or enough space to do it. You know? Okay, if that is good, they wouldn't Naneso in Taguran. But the most important thing is anyone can achieve anything in life. You can achieve anything in life as long as you begin to believe and speak to yourself without creating limits. This is, you know, my limit, you know. And when I talk to many people, I say, your story, I think you're my I've gone through things. I went to one interview, you samanena kuti ndimve amanena amakambira nokaoka so you can ndechifoti nangasina nena kuti the other senses akamapita ena they get song so nimamva kwambiri ndodo zimene zitithandiza I'm already demotivated but let me give it a shot kuona attitude imene muja you know and nachikazikisa muntima noti ntchito imene I have even a better job than this one. Of course, in the possess come up university.
And here you are, a candidate. Also the president, a PhD candidate.
A PhD candidate and
things. No, just because of time. You see what I say. When we sit for these conversations, you don't even see the time. You just get my messages and reminders that 1 hour to 30 minutes you have another conversation. So no, but you have shared mainly the message about belief and not setting the limits to the things that you can achieve. These are things that we're struggling with daily. Not just because of the limitation, but because we've created the limitations. The world has created these limitations for us. And for me, like meeting you and having a conversation with you, it's something that gives me the courage to say, why do you give yourselves excuses? You cannot do that, you cannot do that.
Exactly.
What's there to you? Why? And I know that for a lot of people that have been watching this conversation, listening to this conversation, and also I think we are being too naive or being too harsh on ourselves that we are not exploring the extent of which our potential can take us. And so I'd like to thank you so much for taking your time to have this conversation, and to say this is not the first and the last conversation that we have with you, because we know there's a lot that we need to get into, a lot of stories that we need to actually kutambasula kuti anthu ambiri azimvetsetse. But just for the sake of time and also where we are, we know that as the darkness falls, a lot of people will be coming out. We'll have to wrap up on this one. Yeah, please.
As Prince and that Dennis.
Please.
I am Modiben Pereira. For candidate you.
Graduation yoti inali ya candidate omwe first hand information ya candidate imene zinaendera tena mapemphero akwena muzenda na because tikudziwa nkhani zake zimene zimaendera. No, but it's the same things when makamba zoti there are no limits to these things, and you have proven again and again and again, and we are waiting forward for this other proof. My guys, all the best as you're finalizing your studies. Yeah, when Dennis was here, I think after so many months, that kind of session is when just to just to PhD journey, just the journey. I'm going to put my emphasis on it.
In a rounded Mugandi is the Senate of Bahamas.
No, if example, pretty much what in Chile, 22 as in Safari. Tizapanga as well. My ticket 2 as in Bahamas, put. Zidadinazo zoendera. Akali morobiri yawe yabo. Tina.
Aribwe.
I think it's
yeah, no, thank you so much, Blessings. No, it's been a pleasure. Can I have a handshake with you, please? Thank you so much for coming through.
Yes, please.
No, thanks a lot.
And for everybody that has been tuning into this podcast, this is Lab 20 Podcast. Blessings Msowoya, shattering all the barriers, the glass ceilings that are there when it comes to being able or disabled, ability or without ability, everything is possible. And from us, Lab 20 Innovations team, with the whole crew, camera guy, V, Cherry, everybody, and also Sam, and a big thanks to our director who executively produced this special one. So thank you so much for all the support and for tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe and share. If you have got any comments to Manina and how you say, please comment agenda amene amathandiza kuti lizimba kuti mukufuna chani pamene sitinafunse ndibadi, and we should be able to bring my guest to back on this set or follow them so we can dive deeper into these conversations. Spencer Nundwe, been a very amazing co-host for this one. And to everyone, my name is Dennis. We have to leave it here, but conversations don't stop, and we're talking about conversations with real people having real conversations. Until the next episode, we're out.